on? Hey, everybody, welcome to That's Good Stuff, the show where we review pop culture's newest releases. And this week, we thought we'd go to streaming and check out a couple of shows that are new. So we checked out Severance Season 2, watched 3 episodes of that, right? We watched Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, 2 episodes of that. And then we checked out 3 episodes of Solo Leveling, but Jared's far ahead of us because he cheats. And he's not very
3.
3. So why don't we start off with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? So this is over on Disney Plus, and this is a new MCU take on Spider-Man. Originally, this was supposed to be voiced by Tom Holland and tell his backstory, but they kind of changed it, as we will see. They did a lot of changing to the Spider-Man mythos in this one. So the episodes we checked out were Amazing Fantasy and the Peter Luck. So those were the 2 first episodes. I'll let you guys go first because I don't have a high opinion of this show. Jared, what did you think of this?
There's stuff I didn't mind the visuals. I thought the 2D on the 3D animation was fine. I just hated his not yet Spider-Man suit with the all the crap,
the hoses.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not even a fan of the web wings, so this was tough to look at.
The hockey uniform.
Yeah. Other than that, it's just Spider-Man, honestly. Just more Spider-Man. I don't really have much to say about it. Seemed fine. He seemed like Tom Holland Spider-Man. Or the voice actor was trying to match it as much as possible. Yeah, I don't have much to say, honestly. Michael is the big Spider-Man fan, so
Hudson Thomas.
Hudson Thomas. Do I know his face?
I don't
know. Oh, I have seen him in something before.
Oh no!
Uh-oh. I don't know what
in
that
your
is.
dreams.
Hudson. Hudson. No, yeah, I went in with low expectations because the art's
it's terrible.
It's horrible. It's intentionally bad. You don't make Aunt May's jaw that chiseled by accident. She could cut glass with that thing.
I wish I had a jaw that good. I wouldn't have to have a beard.
It was huge. So I feel like it's a style choice for sure. I didn't mind I like the action sequences in it. I feel like that it flowed better than anything else. But yeah, whenever it goes on any human face is when it gets alarming. So hopefully most of the time he'll just be in the Spider-Man outfit. For some reason, Doctor Strange didn't look weird to me. And Norman Osborn didn't look that strange to me because I guess it's just kind of a similar style we've seen before. But I didn't. It's very much like an ADD show. It's a show for TikTok kids because it's nonstop. It is a million miles a minute. Hey, I'm Spider-Man. Oh, up to get lost here. Hey, how I am, man. Oh, I got bit by a spider from the Rick and Morty portal. But I didn't mind it though. It had some good humor. It had some fun characters. A little bit of twisty things, saw at the end of episode 2. You're like, oh, whoa, we're revealing it to that person. Okay, so I thought I'm interested because it was higher than my very, very low expectations were set. So I was like, oh, this could be kind of fun as a little Spider-Man cartoon. Nothing to write home about. Nothing to go run out and see. I like his little emo chick character friend. I thought she was fun. And then his giant girlfriend crush.
I know, what the heck?
We were having some laughs because she's enormous, and then that football player comes up and he's 2 heads taller than she is. I was like, Spider-Man. Not
giant.
It's a good thing he's Spider-Man because he's gonna have to climb that woman.
Amazonians or something, man.
But then,
and then they had that whole fun where him and the football player got all their first interaction in class, and he's like, "Oh, you just expect me to be a dork? I get it, or not to be a jock." He's like, "I get it. I am nerdy though." So I thought that was a fun thing. I don't know if he's going to be any sort of special character or what they're going to do with him. But one thing Alex and I were talking about though, because they do a lot of like changing Connors to being a woman, making certain characters a different ethnicity and stuff. And I'm like, that's fine, but I'm like these characters have been around forever. Let's create something new. Let's make a new female villain. I'm talking about Batman, Spider-Man, everything. Like, let's bring a new villain in the Spider-Man universe. I'm tired of seeing Rhino. I'm tired of seeing Venom.
Yeah.
I mean, I like these characters, but it's like you're not being creative by making him a woman. You're not being creative by giving him a different hairstyle or giving Harry Osborn earrings. It's like make a new villain for the first time in 50 years, man. It's like it's laughable at this point. It's like everyone's like, oh, how can we make another show? Just change all the genders. It's fine. Like, I don't know. It's so lazy,
genius, Jenkins, genius.
It's so lazy.
It's a good place to do it too, because this is high school years. So.
Yeah, it's like some weird. Go all Smallville on this thing, man. Like, give me some weird bug villains. Give me some weird experiment things. Just have some fun with it. Give me a good high school experience. I will say I did like the. Oh, go ahead.
Is that the height of superhero TV shows, Michael?
Dude,
Smallville
has such a special place in my wee little heart. It's so special. But I did like in the second episode the kind of going to the Oscorp and the weird shenanigans that happened there. And he's like, am I supposed to see the guy? Blah blah blah. I don't know. I had fun with the second episode. The first episode was very formulaic. I feel like, except for the part where they changed the storyline and Doctor Strange comes in and everything. But I don't know. I had fun with it because I expected to hate it. But yeah. That was fun. That's all I got.
Thomas.
Okay. Art style, hate it. It makes my eyes hurt. Michael brought up a very, very, very good point. Nothing is on a different plane. It is all the same plane of movement, and it hurts my eye. So when in the hallways where they're like walking past each other, it looks like they're just gonna go and hit each other.
There's no depth of focus.
There's no depth at all.
I'm just used to it, but that first scene whenever he lands a Spider-Man,
oh my God,
he's the same focus as the building 40 or 50 feet behind him.
The parking lot. It actively hurt my eyes. I was just like,
it took me a minute. I was like,
the fight scenes are very creative. I don't mind them. The Spidey suit's kind of okay. I hope they don't stick with it very long because it's kind of. It wears on you a little bit.
I expect you'll have it till probably the end of the season.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, you get a new suit for season 2. Kind
of like Daredevil.
I don't know. They might keep it because it's like Attack on Titan with the little gas canister.
I like that little bit with the gas though. That was fun.
They did it again, and I can't believe they did it again. They made a redheaded character black. Like I can't believe they did it.
They hate redheads.
They do.
Oh, I was like trying to picture a black person with red hair. I was like, I don't remember any character like that. I see what you're saying.
But they did it again. I'm just like, guys, stop. It's a trope at this point. So I don't even care that he's black because whatever. But I think Michael has a point where stop trying to recreate the same character. Do something different. I forgot who it was, and I wish I could find where it was because I want to quote it. But if they're going to change the ethnicity or the gender of an established character, have a point and a reason behind it. There's no point and reason at this point. It's just because we wanted to. And so it gets a little in Into the Spider-Verse, the Doc Ock reveal of her being Octavia something, I forgot her name, but being that reveal, that was a point to that character. It's like, oh, I didn't expect Doc Ock to be this person
because it's a surprise because you're used to your universe. Like, oh, whoa, that's
right.
Yeah.
That has a point to that. I'm like, oh, and I really like that reveal. It's a really good reveal, but there's just no point because as soon as we see Harry, we're like, oh, well, there's Harry, but he's black. Okay, cool. Or Norman Osborn with his very nasal voice and trying to be Willem Dafoe. It's just there's just no point to it. I don't understand it. What is the football player's name? Do you remember?
No,
Lincoln something. Lincoln,
Nebraska.
He's Tombstone.
Tombstone. That's who he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, for one, that kind of messes up the tombstone thing because he's born with that
Yeah, albino was.
albino. Yeah, he's supposed to be an albino black person, which I'm like, that kind of messes that up, but okay. And then you have the random thing where he gets followed by a cop and then we never address it again. I was
Dude,
just like,
that scene, man. I was like,
and
what?
it's and he doesn't like deal with like being oppressed or whatever. It's there and it's gone. I'm like, okay.
He's not even in a bad part of
Yeah,
town.
it was like a cliche trying to say that he was in a rough, living rough life, but they could have done it better for sure.
He's in a brownstone in New York. Like, do you know how much those cost? And he's like, oh, we could save a few dollars. I'm like, no. You're in a brownstone in New York. Those things are like $3 million a piece. So
It would have made more sense if he was albino and everyone was like looking at him.
That works. That kind of works. But yeah. So I was just like, okay, well, that was literally pointless, but okay, whatever. I did like the reveal in the second episode. That was kind of cool that we're going in that early. That's a good switch up. But besides that, it's very middle of the road. Like overall, the animation though, like that's the main reason I can't watch the new X-Men. But
the new X-Men's good.
I've heard that, but I cannot stand that animation style. It hurts my eyes. So there you go.
Yeah, I kind of see what they tried to do and make it like the '60s cartoon.
Oh,
it just doesn't look good
opening.
though. Yeah, the opening. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool, but then they just rap over it, and it's like, eh.
I was like, especially that super iconic song is so good, and then they don't even do a remix; they just kind of like sample it. Really, I'm just like, oh, come back.
Yeah, if they would have leaned in heavier to the '60s stuff, I think I would have liked it. But this stuff was.
I thought it was going to be like a '60s retro like universe, but it's not. It's just
like Peter dresses nerdy and everyone else doesn't.
Dresses like Arthur.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same problem with this that I do with the MCU Tom Holland. Peter does it like the Peter like I grew up on the cartoon and stuff like that. That guy had a terrible life.
The big old buff Peter.
Yeah.
Dude, I aspire to be as jacked as 90s Spider-Man in that striped pose. Like I wish I had that chest. I'm like, that dude is jacked.
But like everyone hated him. All the women couldn't stand him. They
could never keep a date.
Yeah, this Peter is just like a normal kid, Peter. He doesn't get bullied.
Gets along with everybody, gets along with the jocks.
I hated that part with the football player because I'm like, okay, this guy's gonna bull him a little. No, they're best friends already. It's like, this is terrible. I need to feel sorry for Peter. Peter's supposed to have a worse life than me. That's what makes him great.
Like peak Spider-Man for me is a picture of Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire filming Spider-Man 2, and Tobey's reading an Ultimate Spider-Man run, which was like my favorite run. And Sam Raimi's like pointing like this. Like he's like, here, look at this. I'm like, that right there is like perfect Spider-Man.
In the movies too, like McGuire's movies, man, he's so dirt poor and he's just like really struggling. It makes you feel for him. But the MCU Peter, man, he's just like a kid from, I don't know, a Target kid off the ads or something. Yeah.
That kid's never seen the inside of a Walmart. Are you kidding me?
And then Uncle Ben, man, again, they just gloss over Uncle Ben. You need Uncle Ben, man.
The most vital character in all of Spider-Man.
Yeah. You need Uncle Ben and Gwen Stacy. Those two die, and that makes him who he is. Because, what motivation does this Spider-Man have to do better? It's just like, I kind of believe this guy would steal someone's pizza when he's swinging by or something.
Joseph, that got quoted twice in our viewing
by the same person.
By me.
Michael or Thomas was really making sure we heard him. He was like, stole his pizza!
Stole his pizza! Yeah. So
I'm sorry, that's one of my favorite lines in the movies. Stole that guy's pizza.
Yeah, so nothing quite worked for me. Like Michael said, even if you don't make new characters, at least give us some like obscure ones from the old comics or something and do a twist on
No,
those
not the
guys.
old. No, those guys suck. That's like Quilt Man and crap like that. I hate those guys. Make someone
Hey.
new. Make
We
I'd
someone
rather
new.
have that.
We had Polka Dot Man, and he was like the best character in that movie.
yeah.
So I'm okay with people giving a spin on old characters.
I was thinking while we were talking, I was like, what's super frustrating is it's like proof in the pudding of Penguin. Like they made this
Mhm.
new character and she has just been like the talk of the town of like, oh my gosh, she did such a great job. The character's so interesting. It's like, obviously it's way more interesting than just rehashing old things. So
Yeah.
Hell,
Someone's doing it.
I love Tombstone. I think he's an awesome character,
he's a cool character.
but they kind of flubbed it in the beginning. So I don't know. I don't know what this is going to do.
It's sad because like me and Jared Jonah watched X-Men 97. We loved it, man. Because it made it feel like the old stuff. So I wish they could have done that with Spider-Man. Doctor Strange cameo
Lame.
is fine, I guess.
I took
Wait.
Jake's dad from Adventure Time.
Jake.
I
Oh,
don't know if you remember.
That's him?
No, his dad. If you watch enough Adventure Time, his dad's different. We'll put it that way.
I mean, I've seen Adventure Time, but
Okay, I was joking because he looked like Jake's dad. Was big blue alien.
sorry,
That dad.
sorry, my bad.
that
Face Dad.
and the
Very irresponsible person. He like doesn't do
Dude.
anything to get the fight away from a high school.
Yeah, he doesn't
I
try at
know.
all. Like he has him lassoed like Wonder Woman, and he's like, "Oh, whoops!" Tries
Like,
to save
makes
the
it
bus.
go
Oh,
in
whoops!
there.
Sends a bus
doing
through the high
nothing.
school. I'm like,
Like, well, we're not going to that fancy school. We're going to the regular high school now. Bye, Pete.
Was that like a Venom, I guess, symbiote?
that's what I was asking.
Oh, no.
I
But
thought it was like a
it's-
Lamb Blackheart or something like that.
But it's a multiverse, so it might be just some variation. Who knows?
And now the spider is
I assume they'll be back.
multiverse.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll
Which-
get multiverse powers.
Which did you say that the backpack went to somebody else, Michael?
The
the
spider
spider?
went on someone else. I was assuming it was Miles, but
Well, that's the thing is that now there's supposed to be another spider in that universe, though. So
I don't know.
Yeah, Nico, his friend, is from the Runaways. He's kind of the magic user in that one. So that's where she's from. That's what magic users do.
Chuck their phones. Don't need technology.
All right, moving on to the next show. We caught Severance season 2. So we all saw season 1. We all were intrigued. So we were intrigued enough to come back. So the first episode is called Hello, Mrs. Cobell. So do we want to go episode by episode on this one?
Yeah.
Sure, they're kind of themed.
So what do you
individually.
think of Subservient? What do you think of Severance coming back when you first saw this episode?
dude, all over like YouTube Reels was the running part. Like even before I watched the episode, like that thing got hyped up pretty good, and it was awesome.
I didn't realize until today that a lot of it was done on green screen with a treadmill. I was like,
That's awesome.
huh. So they're like having to try and keep the tempo up. And although poor Adam Scott was like, he's like, yeah, running as fast as I can. I was like, as fast as you can run. Because he looked like he was kind of just jogging quickly, but
Hey, he's like in his 50s now.
Yeah.
Break.
he did a good job.
Looking
But yeah, it's
old.
cool. It is cool. It is
So
cool.
is Tom Cruise, and he's like,
He's
Well,
not
that's
human.
Tom Cruise.
He's
Yeah.
a human,
Alien.
though.
He's a
Yeah.
Scientology angel or whatever.
I think that's an alien, actually.
He's another being. I mean, if he can do that, I believe, I'm in.
Michael confirmed for Scientology.
Confirmed. Put me if Tom Cruise will have me. No, the episode I was it's one of those ones where you end season 1 with the big explosion of getting out of the entire theme of the show.
Yeah.
And then they put you right back in it. So it's like it's that very much like the first episode very much put me on the fence. I'm like, you have to
Mhm.
prove to me that you're going to have something going here.
That's exactly what I was thinking the whole time.
And so I think they did for me. It is interesting what they're doing. because they're not really focusing on their job anymore. It's definitely taking a back step, and they're like
exploring the facility now.
As we'll get into
visiting goats.
And episode 2 is basically literally the complete opposite of what episode 1 was. Not sure. I guess it's interesting because you could have those episodes in either way because of what they deal with. But I think I like this one the way it is because I feel like a bit more of a disappointment to go back to it if after a full episode of being outside of it. But yeah, the first episode is very much like you're like, what the heck's going on? You know nothing. You're just getting pieced information, and it was one that I had to watch the recap a couple times, and then I still didn't remember a lot of the stuff. Like, it took me a while to realize, oh, she's lying about what she saw because she's involved with the company. That skipped my brain for a while. And but yeah, very, very intrigued with the characters. Yeah, episode it had to win me over, but through the coming episodes, it did.
Jared,
yeah, I liked it. Like Michael was saying, is like. They thought they brought down the whole organization, but then they go back to work and it's exactly the same. And you're like, huh, nothing's changed really, except for my team. And then he's just like fighting for his team back. And I enjoyed that. I did like the new team members, like the old guy. He was funny. He was hilarious.
Mark W. or whatever his name was.
Yeah. He's like, will you change your name? Because I want to be
Yeah, maybe Bluth over there.
Yeah.
And then you had
dude didn't speak English.
You had Milkshake take over as manager of the
Milkshake.
floor.
He makes me laugh. I'm sorry. I love
that guy.
He's got a cool helmet.
I love that nickname. Ever since they said Milkshake, I'm like, yes, he is Milkshake.
Who pegged him for a motorcycle rider? Because I sure did.
No, not at all.
I did. That's Stash.
Never.
He's like a motorcycle cop.
His style is so weird because he has like tight pants when he's on the motorcycle and the leather jacket. I'm like, who are you now? I don't even know you anymore.
Well,
did we talk about that scene?
The part where he goes to Mark's house and you can hear the jacket. He's like,
you just hear leather. I was telling them, like, if I ever have like a serious like conversation, I wish I'm wearing leather so I can like
gonna wear under latex suit.
But yeah, I like this episode. It's kind of like what actually changed, and then they introduced that child that works there, and everyone's like, why are you a child?
Oh yeah.
Are you okay? You being held here?
But I like this episode. I thought it was a good season starter. So, Thomas.
Yeah, same thing. Like, I love the energy of the first like 5 minutes because you kind of just thrown back in, just like Mark is, and it's because you're frantic. You don't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on, and I do like for the first 2 episodes they keep it separate, innies and outies. Like one doesn't know the other or what the other's doing because we don't know. So I thought it was a really clever use of the perspectives. The I always forget her name. The redhead.
I want to say Claire. Is that wrong?
AC? What is her name?
Haley or something with an H, isn't it?
Hot. Haley. Hot. I mean,
it is with an H.
Yeah.
Helly.
Where am I getting Claire from?
I don't know.
I thought it was Casey.
You're all laughing up a storm, but it's actually.
I'm not sure why she kept who she was a secret. Maybe because she's afraid of how the others are going to react. But she also seems to be planning something, so I don't really know. It's kind of odd. But yeah, no, I really liked the first season. That was very, very cool concept and it's well executed. And yeah, I don't know if I was as skeptical as Michael or Joseph, but I had a lot of fun with it. So,
yeah, my opinion was Michael's, except for I was super disappointed at the end of it. I was like, they better give me something.
Oh,
this sucks.
We had Keanu Reeves be a building, sir. So that was awesome.
Him.
That was fun. That tickles.
It was just like, wow, they better explain why we're back to the beginning, because the last episode we were out in the opening and everyone was excited to learn stuff, and now we're back.
I was listening to a Shapiro commentary about, because he's a nerd, and he's talking about
insults thrown.
Well,
Kidding,
okay,
kidding.
he's Jewish and a nerd. I'm Jewish and a nerd. So, and we got Mexicans here. They're nerds, and I'm half Mexican. I'm a nerd.
What am I?
I don't
You're
really.
all the redhead that they
Apparently, you're
hate.
about to say, yeah, you're the new black, Michael.
That they erase from everything.
So something he brought up, and I was like, okay, I hope we don't get that, because that would be terrifying. Is like, he's like, this is great because it has the mystery box effect of, because one of his favorite series was Lost. Until it got to the ending, he's like, well, that was all pointless, and it's like they didn't know where they were going. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a terrifying thought for this, is that they don't have an end goal
Plan.
of where all this mystery is going. So ugh.
I hope they do.
I do too, because it's it's a great setup.
Season 1 really seemed like they did, but thank goodness for episode 2, because I would have been really sad. But episode 2 does kind of give you some answers that you were looking for. So goodbye, Miss Selvig is what his neighbor, right? And she she just leaves, takes off. But yeah, so they kind of explain why they would come back to their jobs. Of course, Mark is looking for his wife, or his Audi's wife. And then Dylan can't get a job on the outside world, so he's got to come back. What's the other guy? What's his name?
I almost said Hector, but that's not right.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
What is his name?
It's just John Turturro.
They
that's
say
all.
his name like the more than anyone's
Yeah,
name.
that's true.
Irving.
Irving. Good Lord.
Irving is his name. I don't know too much about why he came back. He learned something disturbing, and he didn't even really want to come back, but he came back for Dylan to kind of help him. And then, like Michael said, Helly is kind of on the inside. She's the inside man.
I like Dylan and Irving's friendship.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
They're cute.
I want to hug Dylan.
They're like
that's the
It
thing,
seems
is
like
that
he
when they
gives
hug,
great hugs.
when they hug, I'm just like, that just looks like a great hug. It's wholesome.
Michael's or Thomas is just there in the hug, just like, hey guys.
they're like Bert and Ernie. So what do you guys think about episode 2?
This was I still wasn't sold over on the direction, because this was still a part of season 1, in my opinion. Like we're not out of it. We're still like just adding to the story they built in the first one. But I'm like, we're not going anywhere yet. That's why hey, chill. If you guys could hear them growling.
He's like,
but we do get a lot of interesting backstory for sure. Getting a lot of more character depth, and what I feel like the season's going to deal with a lot, which we've already seen in episode 3, was just like the different personalities clashing of the innies and outies, which I feel like this episode was very important, but I was still like, where are we going though? Like I want to know where we're going, because we're like we said a second ago, we're back to the beginning, like back to basics. But I like the mystery around what's her face that drives away. I already forgot her name. So it's kind of like, yeah, you call him that. I didn't realize. I'm so bad at looking at episode names. I never know any episode name ever.
I know.
So like, yeah, that was kind of the only thing that added to this. The rest of it was just kind of clean up. It was just like an assassin going around on his motorcycle, and he's got to clean up all the dead bodies. And he brings pineapples to everyone, which I don't understand why, but I like that.
He's a fan of Psych.
Reminded me of Psych. And yeah, so some very interesting concepts. I can't remember how much of the brother-in-law and his sister were in that episode, but I feel like there was it the conversation there at that one?
At the diner?
That's his third episode.
that's the third episode.
Yeah.
Is it?
I can't remember.
That part, but then they also kind of have the fallout.
Yeah.
She doesn't really trust Milkshake and why he's actually there.
Yeah.
So
because they have that like initial intrigue of him going over there and be like, hey, blah blah blah, and I'm pretty sure think that's whenever she puts the little blanket over the picture, because that they're questioning like, who is she talking about, him, Mark and his sister, like what is going on, who's blah blah blah. Anyway, so it's a very still adding information to it. So I still wasn't won over the season yet. That's a long way to say that, and that's where I'm at. But it's still visually very cool episode. I like they're doing an insane amount of contrast with like inside the building is blindingly bright, and then outside they're like,
yeah,
not even a candle. I'm like, you're just having the lamp on their face. You're not lighting anything, but anyway.
Yeah, this one was very much like the flashback episode. It's like an anime where you have the flashback episode and kind of explaining what happened to every character in that whole like time period we didn't see, like when the people are getting fired and then we had to rehire them. So I was a little more down on this episode just because it was like I could kind of piece that together. I didn't really need a whole episode on it. You did get some new information, but as a whole, it was just kind of a flashback episode. I did like the scene where Dylan goes and applies at the door place, and he's making door
That was
puns.
good.
I was like, that's awesome. That's how you get hired.
I always dreamed of working with doors. And what kind of door was it?
What kind of door are you?
A pocket door, and he's like, never heard of that.
It was also a super interesting insight into the world of like people are kind of disgusted by the idea of sending a different version of yourself to do nothing but work. Like that's something I hadn't really thought about, like the outside world and how they viewed this kind of automation of yourself. Really, like is a weird moral conundrum. I like that introduced. So
yeah, that was a little weird in the first episode where they're like heroes, and then now they're just kind of. No one knows them or something like that. So it's kind of weird what's going on.
So I really like the contrast, like I said, of the first episode with this one, just being completely separated. Also, we had that part we haven't seen anything of him yet, or again, Christopher Walken comes back for a brief second because he's following Irving, or is he following Mark? He's following Mark.
Irving, right?
Or is he
I
following?
think he's following Irv.
Because wasn't he at the car at the telephone?
Yeah, and he's like he's in the car. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm intrigued. Like I like this season so far. So I don't have a lot of complaints about these first two episodes.
All right. So Who is Alive is the third episode, and we got some weird stuff going on. So they go to the land of the goats, and then we get some very kind of sci-fi stuff happening at the end. So I'll let you guys talk about it.
Talk about it. Yeah, this is where the show won me over again. Because I was like, I need to know the direction we're going in season 2, and I haven't gotten it yet. We're just getting a bunch of filler for season 1. Hey, this is what's going on, blah 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 blah. But like the exploration of, or the freedom, I should say, is very contrast to the first season, where it's like all about rules, keeping everyone in line, doing what you're supposed to do. This is a weird conundrum of, should we care? Should we not? Are we blah, 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 blah. And they play a lot with like, what is the YouTube term for taking yourself out of the equation?
Taking yourself off the board. I don't know.
Oh,
Unaliving
yourself. There you go. I was like, I shouldn't say the term. What's the term?
Self-deletion.
They play a lot of with that idea of like, hey, if they quit their job, that is that existence ending, basically, which I like them playing with about. But then them exploring and going to the goat land is where I'm like, oh, we're getting like A24 weird, and I'm all about it. Freaking what's her face from Game of Thrones coming up, and like all these weirdo beard dudes, and there's like, what do you do? Because that's the most interesting thing now, is like we've had the interest of like the concept. Now I want the interest of, because you still have no idea. Like they're playing with numbers, and it's like, what does a company do? Why are we forgetting everything? What is the purpose of it? So I'm like exploring all of that, and then the weird confrontation with Driving Lady, which such simple shots of her in that old car driving in snow, but man, those shots were cool looking. Like I felt like that I would want to watch that on IMAX or something. It was how pretty it was. It was so cool. But then the weird confrontation with her and the giant man that came out of the car, or the driver, and then she's like, "Oh, I ain't doing this." She backs up. No, so yeah, so this episode won me over of like the direction we're taking, what we're doing. So I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling like we're back to forward momentum rather than playing catch up, and so I'm back in for more. There's only 5 more episodes left, right? I believe so. There's 8 total. So
8 total. Wow.
So the goat man, Ram Man, other Ram Man, kind of got me when they reached the field, and I'm just like, the hell's going on? And then Gwendolyn Chrissy shows up. I'm just like, I feel like immediately uncomfortable. So that I think Michael's right on that one, where it just kind of Yep, I'm hooked. This is weird, and I'm liking it. So, I also like the interaction with Dylan or any Dylan and Audi Dylan's wife.
Yeah,
that was a funny
really-
conversation.
that was a powerful moment too, of the difference of like, oh, she would is basically lying to him, like, oh, you're not that bad, but he's really just like a slob and couch potato. Sad, very sad.
What do you call it?
Moocher.
Moocher, yeah.
I don't know what that actress is from, but she's so good.
She's from New Girl.
New Girl.
She plays Schmidt's ex girlfriend, and she's also in The Walking Dead, I think, too.
I'll look up what else she's in.
But yeah, I like that. I like that interaction between. I thought the Mark and I forgot her name.
Ellie.
Yeah, when they kind of like look at each other, like, okay, and just walk away.
I lied. 10
yeah.
episodes. My bad.
I thought you were a liar.
I like that tension. That it's like, is this actually a thing? Are we going to do this? I don't know. So just walks away. But yeah, no, very pleased with this episode. I like that they brought the weird back again too. So
You had goat hallway. I was like, oh, nice. They have a little hallway too that they can go down.
I do like how it's lit exactly the same as the other ones. So
yeah, that's pretty much what they said. This brought some. That shot with the goat man was awesome, because at first you think, oh, it's a black goat. You're like, oh, a devil goat, and then it zooms out and you're like, that's a man, and you're like, oh my gosh. So you're unsettled like twice, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. I don't know how I feel about the whole Helly and Mark thing, because I know it's just gonna lead to like Mark's gonna develop feelings for her, so he's not quite sure he wants to do this down the road, and then she's going to use that Helly's going to probably use that for her advantage or something like that. It's a little too telegraphed to me, but if they go that way, if not, it's never mind me. But yeah, this was a good episode.
Yeah, and we didn't even touch on the end where he kind of goes, I forget what they call it, but they meld his kind of inner and outie at the same time.
I totally forgot about that just now.
Yeah, so this lady, I don't know, I don't remember this lady.
I didn't either.
So she shows up at his car and she's like, hey, we got to talk. And
the lady that's saying, what are you trying to do? Burn your retinas?
Yeah. And she's
Which that's like the worst way you could do that too. It's like, man.
So yeah, they're trying to get like the memories to sync up. So that was really interesting, that end part.
And the one with Irving going to that lady about the exportation hallway, or whatever she called it.
Mm-hmm.
That was another very intriguing part.
They have a guy for that now.
Yeah, not allowed to do that no more.
And then, of course, why is there a child here? Is she okay?
Again, why are you a kid?
Does that offend you? Are you okay if I say that?
It's funny.
It ends on some Pink Floyd, so that was cool. All right, so that was our second show, Severance. We go into the last show, which you guys just love to pieces. Solo Leveling.
So
Joseph
dope.
has turned on it, I guess.
So
I
dope.
have not turned on it. I don't know.
He hates it.
Leveling.
He hates it. You heard him. Hates it.
Season 2. You aren't E rank, are you? So we get a new haircut for the guy, and he has to go to a parent-teacher conference. I don't know anyone's name in this show.
Oh yeah, no way.
They're all Korean, and I just don't know Korean. But yeah, so he has to go for his sister, and when he's on his way out, he sees someone from the old party that he was with, and she's like, don't turn me in. I want to be a hunter. He's like, okay, let's take you to get some practice. And they go to like this gate that was supposed to be. It turns out they're always supposed to be easy, but then they turn red, and then so they're like in this ice elf, right? Ice elves or something. They're attacking them, and he's got that new power where a necromancer army or whatever. So that. I don't want to go too far into episode 2, but that was episode 1, I think.
Yeah, he kills the polar bears in episode 1.
Okay, so Solo Leveling, you came back. How hyped were you on this first episode?
You want to go, Jared?
I was pretty hyped. I think I totally forgot most of the first season going into this. I remembered like the key points, but I didn't. There's some stuff that I probably wanted a refresher on. I thought the ice elves were cool, looking like a dark Link or something like that. But like you said, I don't want to talk about much because I don't know if it's second episode and what's first episode. It was interesting when I was watching the episodes with Michael and Thomas because I watch it subbed. I watched the first season, some of it dubbed, so I'm not as familiar with it, but the main dude's really good in it. Mm-hmm. His voice is so deep and like cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what a cool voice. But yeah, this first episode definitely got me back into Soul Leveling. I was like, oh man, I can't wait for the next episode.
And there was that guy whose voice is super familiar, but I can never place him as that kind of big knight guy. He's kind of he's like the highest rank that takes him in there, so he's kind of the leader.
The super
that guy's
bro.
Yeah, that guy's voice is everywhere. I just can never remember like a role of his. Yeah, what'd you guys think?
Oh man, it's you saying you don't remember the names. That's usually me with anime because they are names I'm unfamiliar with and it's hard to remember. But also, like I was saying to Alex, because I've been begging him to watch this show. Because, but I'm like, I don't care about any of the characters. I think I've said this on here before. It's like there are no names because like it's just dope. It's just dope incarnate is all it is. It's like I have such a weakness. Like Gohan in Dragon Ball Z is my favorite because I love like hidden potential and like underdogs that take over and like the Cell Saga is my favorite, and Gohan coming out and doing all that stuff, and then
Super.
Oh god, stop it! But that's literally all this show is. It's just this literal bottom of the barrel tiny fish, and he just escalates in power, becomes so freaking cool, and all these moments of like the elf underestimating him, but even like the sense of. I feel like they're starting to balance it well where he's hitting challenges that are more difficult than he's used to. Because in the first season, it's like, oh, wow, that was much easier than I thought. Oh, I can actually take care of this. Oh, I can fight this. And that snake fight, the first one's so cool. Anyway, but so like that the interaction in this episode I loved a lot was the, them going to the gate and his supreme confidence. But it's also weird because they play with it later on, but there's a weird moral question I have with him, especially if you watch the end credit scene with like the two versions of him. I don't know how that's playing into it because there's the one kind of screaming on the floor, then there's him in the cloak and everything, and it kind of goes into in my brain. I'm trying to think of where he's seeing himself in this because he starts realizing, oh, this is. He keeps, referring to it as a game. He keeps seeing the menus. He keeps seeing all this. I'm like, where is his reality diverging? Is he actually in a reality? Because like he goes into this party with, like Joseph said, that really, really strong guy. I think it was class A or something like that. And he was like, I'm going to take command, blah, blah, blah. But then I did like the point where right when they get there, the ice elves shoot arrows and the main character grabs an arrow and saves his friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't even notice those arrows coming yet, but he knew before anyone. And so I like that kind of like, still playing on other people's strengths. But anyway, the fact that he doesn't really care about any of the other people was what's intriguing to me. I'm not going to say warrior or anything like that, but intriguing is like he could easily be like, hey, you guys should stay with me. Let me show you why or whatever. But it's like this weird like moral degradation coming across him of like, hey, I'm going to let half the party go. They're obviously going to die, and or at least some of them are going to. And then we'll get in episode 2 what happens there. But yeah, I very, very enjoyed this one. It just gets back to the supreme confidence of him walking up to the polar bears. He's like, oh, let me show you my new toys. And he's just kind of experimenting and lets his mana drain, but it's cool and awesome. And then you're like, oh, that was so cool. And then what happens is, boom, let me take more of people. And he summons, what does he say? Arise is the command or whatever. I'm like, yeah, heck yeah. It's just dope. It's just dope.
I didn't like that whole part of it in the first season is his losing his humanity, like when he first takes a life, and you can start to see his like descent, I guess. I was really intrigued on the first season on that episode, and then they haven't really touched on it. But in the second season, it looks like they're doing it again, and I'm like, ooh, all right. Sorry, Thomas, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Yeah, no, I texted Michael and Jared. I'm like, because I watched the first episode and I was like, holy crap! Like this show doesn't hold back from the first episode. Because like I was not impressed with Solo Leveling. The first season, like the very first episode, I was like, this isn't very good. And then it became amazing. And to me, like this didn't hold back, like, especially the first episode. It was just immediate like action and awesome. And yeah, it looks so good. Like that's the thing about this. It's like everything just looks so good.
Yeah,
like
the fight scenes are awesome.
They're just
that stupid knight, his like,
oh man,
he's so cool.
that Crimson Knight, like,
yeah,
God, he looks so cool. And yeah, and I do like that he is now thinking of lives as like other people's lives as not important, and he can just use them, especially like in the following episodes. What happens, especially with like his powers. I just think that's kind of interesting. He's losing that connection to humanity, I think, and because even, well, we'll get into that in a minute. So, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, there's a big point on the second episode that we need to talk
about. All right,
we need to get to now.
All right, yeah, it was a good start. I thought. I have like the opposite. Like, the thing I have with the show is he's getting too strong too fast, and I don't like it. I want him to have a little bit of challenge, but it was a good start. And I like the OP. The OP was cool, so I liked it. So let's get onto that episode 2, since you guys need to talk about it, want to talk about. So this is basically his army versus the Ice Elves, and so go ahead, Jared.
Am I talking about the episode, or am I?
Yeah, it's called I Suppose You Aren't Aware. So yeah, start wherever you want.
Okay, so in this one, he confronts the chief of the Ice Elves. I don't know but he is a chief leader, whatever. And he's like, because of his intelligence.
Prime Minister Ice Elf.
Because of his intelligence that he can understand them, like he can like translate. And so he's like talking to this guy, and he's like, hey, we don't care about you. We don't have to fight. We just want to kill those humans, because they don't see him as a human for some reason. He's not too sure about that, but
yeah, that was like, super interesting.
Yeah. He's like, hey, we just want them. Doesn't have to come to this. And he's like, it's come to this. And then like his army, and then he's like, this.
But there's that part where like it doesn't translate it to him for some reason, and he's like, oh, the system must have did that on purpose or something like that.
Like it like resets or something because it gave away something. Because the Ice Elf King, I almost said Ice King, it tells him like, oh yeah, there's that voice in our head that is always like telling us to attack the humans, and then it like resets. He's like, well, that was weird. Why did he do that?
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was really weird.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, it's definitely something pushing these monsters to attack humans. It's not just like their instinct. So
there's awesome fights to be had. He takes on the Ice Elf, and he's like, this guy's actually pretty strong. Still not much of a challenge for him, but he's still going to blows with him. And then as he's fighting the Ice Chief, the main dude from his team, like the A rank or whatever he was, I don't remember what rank. He's like, that guy's getting us killed, and he's like, oh man, I'm going to go after him. And so he's like, gosh, got to deal with this now. And
I will end you.
He ends up dying, and he's like, and this is the part where it's kind of like questionable, because he dies, but he uses his necromancy on him to add him to his like team or his army, And so you're kind of like, that's cool. He's cool like this, but
Bro,
that's kind of an
that's
effed
a
up
big
thing.
line.
Messed up. Yeah.
And so he's using that guy now as like his defense guy, and they defeat the
renames him.
tank.
He's like Iron.
He's like, you're big in a tank-like position, so I'm just gonna name you Tank. He's not great with names.
I thought he named the bear tank.
Oh no, he named the bear
the Bears
tank.
tank.
Yeah,
He's
right.
Iron.
Ironclad or something like that. I can't remember.
Anyway, they fight. They kill that elf. I always forget how violent this show can get. Because we haven't seen like brutal violence in a while, so I was like, oh. But anyway, they finish the fight. They go back to out of the gate. Kind of fuzzy on this part, but I think he meets up with that guy he has a team with, the construction company's heir or whatever he is.
His big fan.
Yeah, and he's like, they have Korean barbecue, and he's like, if you don't like me anymore, you can say it. It's just like I have issues with my big brother. I was just thinking of you as a big Oni-chan. And he's like, it's okay, bro. And he pours him more beer, and they have their little barbecue.
Adorable.
That was pretty much the episode. That episode.
There was that funny part where they're in the car, and he's like, "Oh, I kept you up all night." And he's talking to the girl, and he's like,
"Oh, I know." I was like,
"She's underage." He's like, "Whatever," and he's like, "Oh,
it's funny." Like, oh my
god. But yeah, this one was cool because you got that part where he used the necromancy on that dude, which was questionable. But then you had the scene at the barbecue where he's like kind of being nice to that guy. So he's still hanging on to his humanity a little bit, but that really kind of like, ooh, that was a messed up thing you did there, guy.
Well, there's a part in the first episode I forgot to mention where he's like, he's taking care of these E-rank guys because they need his help. But then I'm like, oh, he's a pretty nice guy. But then he's like, no one questioned me ever, like no questions at all. I'm like, this guy's mean.
What do you think, Michael?
Oh, this episode was just as dope as the second one. I was like, all right, they're gonna continue through, and it really does. Like the fight with the elves is awesome. I think he actually does say when he first sees the elf, he's like, I think this guy's stronger than I am. But then he kind of makes that plan because whenever the A rank guy dies, he's like, you knew this was gonna happen. He realizes like he wanted to chase him down so he could take him or have the excuse of taking him. Which is where we get into light Yagami territory where he starts like, oh, is our main character going baddie? And that's where it's like it's weird, confusing. I forgot about the elf thing, the glitch. That was super interesting because that also lends to his like, oh, this isn't reality, so I can kind of do what I want to get my means. But then why would he care so much about his mom if he's thinking this isn't reality? I don't know. Maybe only in game or in dungeon is not reality to him. I don't understand.
When in dungeon, you can do whatever you want, Michael.
What happens in dungeon stays in dungeon.
Stays in dungeon. That sounds terrible.
But the fight scenes were awesome. Him getting all the things. I liked the ending a lot where he tries to get it kind of cuts the scene where he's trying to get the leader elf, and it's like error. Like you don't have the strength or whatever to do that. I like that a lot because I was like, don't get that would be cool, but don't because that's gonna be too much. And it's like he's like, darn it.
You don't have enough gym badges for that.
No gym
for that Pokemon.
And then I like coming out of it because now we're getting to the sense where people know who this guy is. Obviously, Bro from season 1 that died is looking for him, and he's angry and pissed with his giant red collar. And he's like waiting around, blah blah blah. But then the other leader of one of the organizations, whatever, he's like,
All Might.
He walks out. Yeah. He walks past him and he stops him and he realizes, oh, this dude's more than that. And so he walks off. He's like, make sure he gets on our team. So people are starting to scout this guy and wanting on their squads to get their popularity up, whatever the heck they want to do. I don't know. It is very intriguing. I like the characters. I'm excited to see more of because we're getting a few of the outer greater hunters, and
because there's that
I'm ready to
part
see
in
more
like
of
the
them.
very first episode of the show where they showed them kind of
Yeah.
fighting, and you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But so far, I haven't like liked any of them that
Yeah.
have actually showed up yet.
So we're getting introduced to more of them. So but yeah,
So
this
they could
episode
be
2 is good.
interesting if he does get like super overpowered. Like, could you have the drama through those characters? Like, because since they won't be that OP, maybe their lives will be more at stake.
And I know they already said like this is 5 seasons and they're done, so they have the thing planned out apparently. So I'm like,
Wow.
yes, you're speaking my language. But yeah, that's all I got.
5 Attack on Titan season.
Part 1, Part 2, Part 46. Oh no. What you got, Thomas?
Oh, my bad. Sorry. No, the second episode was pretty awesome because again, you had the encounter with the ice elves and like that question of like, what's really behind all these attacks, and that fight scene with the ice elf like chief was so good. Like every fight scene has been just fantastically animated, and it looks so good. Like nothing looks bad in this series, and yeah, I'm curious about the party that is kind of tracking him. You know, the that guild or whatever that has that elite squad, because they keep like not wanting him on their team, but they're trying to like keep track of his whereabouts. So I'm wondering what the interaction with that squad is going to be. So, and yes, Mr. Buff dude with the red collar. I mean, okay, to put in perspective though, he's still not as buff as 90s Spider-Man. So I'm just putting it out there. Like, anyway.
No one's that buff, Thomas.
No, nobody's that buff.
No one's that casually buff.
Right.
All right, so episode 3, still a long way to go. So he's like, I'm gonna go off for a few days. No one contact me. I'm out of town. And the sister's like, ooh, who's the girl's name? And he's like, shut up. No. And then so he goes to that dungeon, right, that we got introduced to in episode or season 1. So he's going to go fight some god or demons or something like that. So that's why he's doing this episode. We get a couple scenes of this mysterious man that they've like picked up and imprisoned so that the guy could talk to him. I don't know what's going up with that. And they're like, your family is not alive anymore. And so I'm not sure what's going on with that storyline, but I'm guessing we'll learn more. So what did you guys think of this one?
Michael, go ahead.
Oh, me first?
I gotta remember what episode
yeah,
this is because I can't spoil.
Oh, yeah, sure. So this one.
Oh shoot!
This one just encompasses him using the key to go into the dungeon, and he does the first 50 floors of it. Which, in my opinion, this episode was weaker than the first 2, just in the fact that what he's doing is interesting to me. Like, the visuals are cool, the fights are cool, the enemies aren't interesting. They're very base level Dark Souls
he
enemies.
Fights that giant fat man.
He was big. That fight was cool. He was like, oh, you're fast. I was like, what do you remind me of? There's some anime where there's just some big dude that moves way too fast. But anyway, so
looks like the first boss in Sword Art Online. Like the first
don't bring that up, Thomas. No.
first season's great. You know what? I'm not even ashamed to say that. I like that first season a lot.
But
that show has the worst pacing ever in anime.
Worst pacing ever in anime.
Moving on.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
That one's like this, right? Where they're like in a gay world, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all I know about it. Anyway, so this one, the interesting stuff was outside of the main character. Like Joseph said, they introduced this new metalhead character with long hair, and he's like coming out. He came out of a portal. You're like, where have you been? He's like, I've been gone for 10 years. Like, what the heck?
How about them apples?
But you have kind of the so buzzed hair, big collar boy was like talking up a storm, being like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Like, I'm the big cheese around here. But then it kind of like skips forward, and I like this. It's like a slight sprinkling of tease for fights to come, which I'm like, yes, because it's like these two are big baddies. You kind of get you know it from Confident Collar Man, but you don't know about it from 80s shirt dude yet. But then the scene cuts, it comes back. Collar Man's beaten up, and he's and the line that I liked that was he was like, imagine if he didn't hold back because he knew he was going to lose. Like, we would have lost the city. Like, oh dang, these two are big boys. I was like, that's a dope line. Now he asked about his family, like Joseph said, but then he said his son. He said, what was your son? His name was John or something like that. And that's the main character's name, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I'm like, is that his papa? Is he special like his papa? I don't know. They didn't really confirm too much there, but that was most of the intrigue for me for this episode. The action was like I said, good, but not consequential. Like we're now, like Joseph's saying, in the territory of like leveling so fast, levels don't matter anymore. But it was more of the outer world that was more impressive. And there was one more person that, I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone talked about wanting to recruit him in this episode. I don't remember who it was.
White Tiger.
Yeah, something like that. But it's just
Something
more,
like that.
more of that, like, hey, more eyes are on him and stuff like that. So not a very consequential episode, introductions or anything like that. So weaker than the first two, but still enjoyed it.
They're gonna have to like date all these suitors and figure out which one he loves the most.
They gotta take them to fine dine restaurants.
Yeah.
I like this episode. I liked, like Michael said, the dungeon part was just like, it was cool. At the big fat guy going super fast, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like Joseph is saying, he's getting way too strong, way too fast. Nothing's a challenge. But I think they're gonna get you soon. I don't know.
So,
There's no way. There's no way. That they can just sustain that for like seasons and seasons. So
well, SAO, Jared, SAO.
Well, we don't talk about SAO.
Well, we can.
And then but the cool part was that long haired dude looking like Toriko. If you guys ever seen that anime,
one where the guy gets food.
Yeah.
But
that was super interesting, especially with like, because we haven't really seen S rank characters do anything. But if this guy just took out that one dude in like 2 seconds, like they were saying, it's like, oh. So yeah, I like this episode.
Just a cat in your face.
I liked earlier she came from the right side of your camera on my screen. Just
she's like, what are you reading?
What are you doing?
Yeah, so the wild man dude is actually kind of interesting because he's talking about the like the end of the world has already been like unleashed, and they're like, what are you talking about? And maybe it's John, who knows? But yeah, it's very interesting, and the fact that he's like on par with our main characters, like his power level. So it might be his dad, might be him from the future. I don't know, but because he's got like the same glow in his eyes, right? No,
it's yellow.
Yeah, yellow,
not blue. So I don't know. It's very interesting. They set up a lot of stuff for this, so I don't know. This was more of a talking episode, even though there was like a whole grinding section. The action really wasn't important. It was just like what he was doing to get there. Here.
I did like that they touched back on, because I feel like we haven't heard about it in a minute, but the elixir of life is still his goal. And he's like, I have 2 out of the 3. So I like that we're still touching back on that, but like, hey, this is still a priority for him. Because I'm like, where's your humanity, bro? But
got a lot of
it is interesting that he already has 2.
Yeah.
The 3.
Zoom.
He's almost done.
Next season, over. It's over.
Poof.
All right, Jared, tell us what happens in the next episode.
No. Made me so sad.
Episode.
So rude. Do that to me.
But yes, I did like this episode. It's very good.
Yeah, so season 2 off to a strong start, I think. You're giving us some mysteries to figure out and stuff like that. So tell us what you guys thought of each of these shows. Tell us what your favorite was. Tell us which one you didn't like and why it was Spider-Man. And just let us know.
And if you like SAO or not, who knows?
Ooh, man, we could start a whole war over that. So like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff. And we will catch you next time. Bye.